So on this episode of SportsCode and Chat, I'm just going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you what I do after a game because you never really see that. So here's my timeline. I've just coded this game between the Huskies and the Rams. I think I did like the third quarter in the last video. So I finished it up. I've got my messed up timeline here with all my different rows and instances all in a big old mess. So what I usually do after a game is I minimize that, extend this, and then I create 4 empty rows down the bottom, and I rename them. Positions, let's make it white. Rams, Huskies, and then I usually go individuals, and white. So my 4 rows, and I take this up here, put up the top, take Rams, put that there, and I start sorting my rows. So I do made and missed shots first. I go made 2, missed 2, made 3, missed 3, defensive rebound, followed by offensive rebound, and I go turnover, and I go steal, fouls usually last, and then if I have any blocks, which I do, they go there, and then I've got all my Rams rows, and I go Huskies and do the exact same thing. So organize my rows here. Then I do my individuals, and I just put them in numbered order. And there we go. So now I've got my full timeline. So now I've got my positions, my Rams, my Huskies, and my individuals. And it just makes it really nice and clean, easy for the coach. If they ever came back and wanted to look at this game, they can easily find what they're looking for as it's in the right category. And it also makes the matrix look really nice. So you've got all your rows here segmented by individuals and teams and positions. And it also does that when you swap the axes. So you've got all your individuals at the end here, all your opposition rows here, and then all your home team rows here. So that's what I do for the timeline. Minimize this and put the video back up. Now I'm going to open my output window. I got my output window. Now I'd see that we have some players in this game that aren't in the y-axis of my box score at the moment. So we don't have, for example, Cook Green here. So I'm going to basically just redo this because there's some players who aren't playing in this season anymore because they're injured. And there's some other players there that are just starting their season. So Albertson didn't play, so I'm just going to go Hall, Smith. I don't even have Brown there. Well, we need to add Brown. Wrong place. Come back up here. Number 7, Brown. The Rams, for some reason, at the start of the season announced this like giant roster with a gazillion players, and then not all of them have played because there's been some injuries. It makes me sad that Jack Salt, who was a University of Virginia player, was actually a Kiwi. He played on that UMBC team. He played against the UMBC team that lost when they were like the number 1 seed. But he's like one of their best players. But he was unable to play this year. Well, he played a couple games, but then I think he's very injury prone, so he hasn't been able to play a game since. But if he was able to play in this team, that'd be really, really good. Now I'm going to take all these and just do that. So I got my box score. I've already got the Huskies here. And then I'm going to go basic. I'm going to click Rams. I'm going to execute. I'm going to go shot type. So when I first open the box score, the first things I kind of look for, well, the first things I look at are like turnovers, just points, rebounds. I just look at all the really basic stats, 3-point percentages for both the individuals and the teams. Just basically, get a full picture of what's going on. So for example, I'm just noticing that this is the exact same. So that's pretty interesting. Exactly the same 3-point shooting, almost the exact same field goal shooting. So the difference must come in the twos. And again, there's a small difference, but very minimal. I look at the rebounds. The Huskies out-rebounded the Rams by only 3 rebounds. So again, that's also very, very close. Blocks. The Rams love getting blocked. 7 blocks by the Huskies. And then we've got assists and steals for the Rams. I don't code assists and steals for the other team because, to be honest, I don't really care. I don't really care how many steals the other team had. You can kind of get that exact same stat from the turnovers. 17 and 18 turnovers, that's a lot. But the Rams I forgot who they played in the game before this. They were like in the late 20s, both of them, for turnovers. So that's a bit embarrassing. Then we look at the points. We can see that Taylor had a lot of points. Talma, Singler, they had double digits as well. And I go advanced, and I look at all the advanced stats. So I'm usually curious about box score, the plus minus. So Talma was negative 15, Taylor negative 1. I'm always curious to see in a loss who's positive. So Bailey is positive. Smith is negative 1 only. So Hannon, he's plus 2. He's our very small point guard, so it's always interesting. I look at the points above replacement on defense and offense to see who had a positive and negative impact. For example, Taylor was net even on offense. Hannon was like a net positive on 58 possessions overall, which is actually pretty good. So you think half of those are on offense. So on like 28 possessions, he was plus 0.17 per possession better than the average on offense. So that's pretty good. Look at the rebounds per 40s and the assists per 40s, points per 40s. Offensive and defensive ratings are always interesting. Usage rate. Taylor's always going to have a very high usage rate. I'm surprised Talma has such a high usage rate. Bailey and Whitaker have very similar usage rates. Look at the team stuff. So down here we've got pace, points per possession. That's always kind of a big one. So you can see that's where the Huskies won the game in points per possession. And they had the exact same positions as well. So obviously that 0.05 difference made the difference. 2 to 3 point shooting ratio I find interesting as well. In an NBA game, this is probably going to be like 1 to 1.2 in terms of 2 to 3 point shooting ratio. But in the New Zealand NBL, which is still pretty, not low level, but much lower than the NBA, obviously, there's going to be a lot more 2 point shooting. So 1 to 0.5. So for every 1 2 point shot, they shot 0.5 3 point shots. The amount of points per shot type. What percentage of your shots were contested, the outcome percentage, second chance points. So again, rebounding is a big problem with the Rams because they're so small. So obviously the Huskies, who actually have quite a few big players, are going to get a lot of second chance points off rebounds and score a lot. Turnover points, so points off turnovers, and then just points per shot from different areas. So 3 point shots, 2 point shots, and field goals overall. I should probably change this to 2 decimal points or 2 numbers after the decimal point because just 0.9 is very broad, especially over a large season. So you might want to, I might change that to 0.93 or something like that just to give me some more intel, especially on a large sample size. On a small sample size, this doesn't really matter. Then I look at position types. So how did we score in different areas? So again, this is kind of small sample size, so it's hard to make a lot of conclusions, but the Huskies scored 0.5 points more per possession on transition possessions, and then on fast break possessions, they also scored 0.2 points more per possession. So you can see, like in the fast game or on positions, like early offense positions, the Huskies did a lot better than the Rams because in half court they were both 0.7 points per possession. So that's not really where the game was won. It was won in the early offense. We've got some zone positions you can look at for the Rams. Everything here's got video capability as well, so I could just click that and watch the film for it if I wanted to, but I'm not too interested. And then this is always interesting to look at as well. So how did the teams perform after different position starts? So we just talked about early offense over here with the transition and fast break, and that's backed up over here for the after missed shots. So after the other team missed a shot, how did your next position go? So the Rams scored 0.7 points per position, and the Huskies scored 1 point per possession. So again, those are kind of married to transitions because the Rams might have missed a shot and then the Huskies went over to the other side of the court and scored. So that kind of backs up those two stats. The fast break and the transition and after missed shot. That kind of makes sense. After made shot though, the Rams were a lot better. So in half court positions or like after set positions where the other team scored a point and you're kind of versing a set defense, the Rams were 0.4 points better per possession. Then after turnovers, again, this backs up the transition and fast break stats as well as the after missed shot stats in terms of early offense position. The Huskies were better 0.3 3 points per possession better than the Rams. You could even break this down further if we wanted to. So like if we want to look at the Huskies transition stuff, we can just click Huskies, click transition, and we see how well they were. So they shot 60% from twos, obviously a very small sample size. We can see they scored 11% of their points off transition. So when we compare that to the Rams, they scored also 11% of their points from transition, but they just also had a turnover. They shot not as well. So the Huskies were just better in this area of the court. They also didn't have as many transition possessions, so I guess they had less possessions to mess up than the Rams. So we go over to the shooting charts now. That's the next thing I look at. I always press execute every now and then just to make sure my scripting is executing. We can look at the shot charts. Again, we didn't shoot well from three if you're the Rams. I want to go back to the basic stats just so I can see the 3-point percentages. 32%, so we shot 0 of 3 from the right corner, 1 of 7 from the right wing, 0 of 2 from the left wing, 1 of 3 from the left corner, and then 6 of 10 from the top. So that's pretty good, but rubbish everywhere else, and you can kind of back that up by the shot type stuff. So now I always kind of make the joke that if a shot's too uncontested, the Rams are going to miss it, and that's kind of backed up by the stats. 1 of 4 from uncontested catch and shoot threes, not great. 6 of 14 from contested catch and shoot threes. So the Rams, and I suspect when we get to the end of season review, that the Rams are going to have shot better from contested catch and shoot threes than uncontested catch and shoot threes, which is very random. You obviously wouldn't see that very often. That's just kind of a weird thing with the Rams right now. 27% of their points came from catch and shoot threes, so over a quarter of their points. With the rest of their points coming from floaters, the Rams do love a floater, which I don't like, and drives. 15% of their points came from drives. Then everything else came from free throws or just randomly from other categories. So off the dribble threes, off the dribble twos, breakaway shots, things like that. Hook shots, they got 2 shots there. Percentages aren't great. Off the dribble 2 and off the dribble 3, they went 2 for 15, which kind of reinforces what people know in basketball right now, that off the dribble shots aren't very good, especially when every single one of them is contested, which we can see here. Every single one of their off the dribble shots was contested, so that's not a good look. And you can see that's probably what happened to all these 3-point shots over here. They were probably all off the dribble threes, and they probably all missed. Other than that, drives, very positive category for the Rams. They get a lot of blocked shots, so those blocked shots might have come from post-ups as well, because obviously if you have 7 blocked shots, they can't have all been from drives. A lot of floaters, a lot of dump-offs. Otherwise, it's a pretty extensive shot menu. We're going to go over to the Huskies now. And we see that the Huskies have a bit more of a overall shot chart. They shot from every position on the floor that I label for. Pretty good at the post, 15 for 26. Better from 3 overall than the Rams. Well, complete opposite when it comes to the top of the key, I guess. They shot 2 for 12, where the Rams shot 6 for 10, so that's a bit of a difference. You see a lot more green, though, when it comes to here. So catch and shoot threes, 30% of their points came from that area. 6 of 13, 2 of 3 from uncontested. So they did shoot better from uncontested shots, but obviously a small sample size, only 2 of 3. Obviously, you can't make much from that. 1.5 points per per attempt, so 50%. Obviously, that's a very good shooting percentage from 3-point shots. Obviously, they just crapped the bed off the dribble threes. Obviously, that's not a great shot type. 0 of 9, 0 of 7, 0 of 2 from uncontested, so 0% of their points off 14% of their total attempts. So you don't love to see that. If you're the Huskies, you probably want to shoot more catch and shoot threes as your priority or your primary 3-point shot. Only 1 catch and shoot 2, 8 off the dribble twos, but only 2% of their points. So again, the Rams and the Huskies are reinforcing what we know in basketball analytics right now, that off the dribble shots suck. The Rams went 2 for 15. The Huskies went 1 for 17. So don't do off the dribble shots. They're not very good unless you're, Chris Paul or something, especially at a lower level like this. Not a great shot type. Other than that, most of their points came from breakaways, drives, cuts. We've got putbacks here as well, so pretty extensive shot menu as well. But again, on these small sample sizes, it's hard to take a lot out of it. I think I got pick and roll here. Yeah, I've got 3 for 4 on 75% for pick and roll. As we know, I'm not really coding for team actions, but the one team action I do have right here, pick and roll, we can see that they shot 1.5 points per pick and roll attempt. Did I do it for much for the Rams? 2 for 9, so not much better. Much worse than the Huskies, but obviously on a bigger sample size. So still interesting if you want to look at that. If you had all your team plays, we could look at all the pick and rolls or horns actions or whatever. See the points per possession run with this play, the frequency of possessions we run with this play, and the percentage of our points that come from this play. Obviously, not a lot for the Rams. Then the last part of the output window we can look at is points per quarter. So most of the Rams points came in the first quarter, 30% of them, then kind of like in the 23-24 range for the rest of the game. Turnovers per quarter, all of them came in the third quarter, which kind of makes sense for the points as well. They only scored 18 points, the least amount of points in the game per quarter, tied with the second, but it's also where most of their turnovers came from. For the Huskies, all their points came in the second quarter, or most of their points came in the second and the fourth quarter with 27.7, and most of their turnovers came in the third. Third quarter was a bad turnover half for both teams, obviously. So that's kind of my output window. That's what I look at after a game to kind of break it down, look at different statistical things. If you find that interesting, awesome. If you have any questions about it, just send me an email. My email's in the description below. Other than that, have a good day and thanks for watching.